What lurks behind this unassuming storefront in Cleveland, Ohio? It's the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magick. Welcome back to the Buckland Museum Frankenstein radio control room, which exists inside of our famous demon box, where I'm in lockdown with its resident Big B, who has kindly loaned me a room to broadcast to the world. 3 years ago, we opened in a very small cubby hole inside of our friend's record shop, a separate Reality Records, and hundreds of people came out to celebrate. Our founder, Raymond Buckland, was there, and it was a total honor to spend time with him and share his collection with the world. People are like, why is it so small? And honestly, I didn't know people would show up. I just thought we'd have a place to like maybe work on a catalog. But 3 years later, we've had about 8,000 visitors, so I guess we should have known better. Since then, we've expanded, we've moved, we're currently closed, but we're ready to share it again with the world when we can. That being said, really, honestly, I just hope everybody out there is staying safe. I know the lockdown is, it's starting to get on people, but I also know people have been personally affected by the virus in really devastating ways. So, really my heart goes out to everyone. But honestly, tonight is a bit of a celebration, 3 years of being in operation. So we asked our partner in this, Tonita, to come hang out. Toni was a dear friend of our founder and is responsible for bringing it to Ohio. She's the owner of the collection, and she's very kind enough to loan it to us to have it on display for the world. It's funny. I've spoken to Toni constantly over the last few years, and she's not only like a partner in the business, but she's become a really dear, close friend. So very excited. And hi, Toni.
Hi, but welcome. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all? You can't hear me? Uh-oh. Anybody else having any problems? Please comment. Let's see here.
Oh.
Toni, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear
All
you
right.
now.
Excellent. Well, I hope some people heard my intro. More than anything, I am just up. Sandy Ewald says, I hear you. So thank you, Sandy. So anyway, what I was saying, Toni, is I am so excited to share it with you here. We've been open for 3 years. We're currently not open, but hopefully we will get it going again soon. So what's going on? What are you up to tonight?
Oh, relaxing. I've been doing a lot of renovation projects, things that need to be done. So just relaxing tonight. This is kind of a break from what I've been doing. So it's kind of nice to be able to sit down and chat with you. I haven't been able to chat with you for a long time or see you. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, the last time I saw you was about a month ago, and we handed off some things in a Mansfield parking lot,
Right.
which was kind of crazy and wacky. So we have a question here. Alex Gray says, "Where's your Jenny Bach?" to me, and right here, I always I hate to say it like this, but I usually have one right here by me. So there we go, Alex. Where's yours? I'm really excited that we've lasted 3 years, Toni. What do you think? When we first opened, did you think that we had these long legs?
Oh, absolutely. I think you do a wonderful tour. You do it Raymond Buckland justice. No, I definitely think it was gonna. And it's gonna last so much longer. So I'm grateful that you're doing it. So
That's really sweet. So But we should so you knew Raymond Buckland. Could you kind of tell us a bit about your relationship with Ray and your friendship, how you guys met?
Sure. Well, it was probably about 25 years ago. A good friend of mine, Kat, I'm in Columbus, and a good friend of mine, Kat, had a metaphysical store here called the Cat and the Cauldron. And Ray would come in and do classes at her shop. And one day they were doing a seance, and she called me and asked me if I could, they needed 13 people, and she called me and asked me if I would participate. And so I came in, and that's actually when I first met Ray Buckland. Um, I, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't really know him that well. It was a long time ago. But I'm thankful that I did not know him, because I probably would have been starstruck and wouldn't have been able to talk to him, like a lot of people when they meet someone that, that is Ray Buckland. So he and I sat together and talked, and, and he is an amazing, among many things, he was an amazing medium. So that's actually when I first met him. And then after that, we have something here, and it's the Universal Light Expo, Gift of Light Expo. There's, it's a big convention, and Ray would come and do lectures with and a lot of his books, and I would sit with him and help him while he talked with the public, and I would write up his, transactions for him. So I got to know him very well, behind the scenes. But yeah,
so
that's how I met him.
I want to share this picture here that was taken 3 years and about a month ago. So there's Kat and there's Jillian, two ladies that are also very involved with what we have going on here. And that was a very special day. It was like right around when we were like actually like, yeah, we're going to be moving forward with the museum. So we went down and hung out with Ray for an afternoon, and he shared with us some of his cool stuff, took us out to the garage, showed us how to use dowsing rods, which that was really a total honor. When I met Ray, it was when he was doing his comedy night in Millersburg. And I remember just being like, this guy's hilarious. Because the first thing he said to me was, we're looking at the demon in the box. And he was just like, yeah, Steven, this is your problem now.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, cool. But I'm cute, entertaining, funny guy. So how did you get involved with the museum? Like how did this kind of like?
Well, I had heard about it. I heard about it, but it was in New Orleans. So, and I hadn't been down there for a long time. And ironically, I had a family reunion down there, and told Ray that I was going to be heading down there. And he had said that, since I was going to be down there, to look up, her name was Reverend Velvet Wraith, and she was the caretaker of the museum down in New Orleans, and to look her up to get a private tour of his museum. And unbeknownst to me, she was ill, and long story short, she couldn't take care of the museum anymore, and her husband and the family couldn't take care of it either. So I had told Ray that, we would go down, instead of just family reunion round trip ticket, I would get a one-way ticket and go down and pick up and I had no idea it was as large as it was. But I would just go down, get a U-Haul, and bring it up. And that's what happened. He had said that he and Tara were getting ready to move to San Diego, and he didn't have time to take care of it anymore. So if I wanted to just go down and get it, that I could have it. And that was not something that I wanted to take on. It's a lot of responsibility. Kat and I spoke about it a lot, but the consensus was that if we didn't rescue it, it was getting ready to be sold and split up. So we couldn't have that. So we brought it up to Columbus.
No, not at all.
No.
So,
and when you see what's in there, I'm so glad we did. I'm so glad we did. Kat was like, no, we need to get this. So we did.
yeah. Kat, who's our friend here in this photo, next to Ray, that's not Tony, is she's like kind of an unsung hero in all this, because she was one of the people that was just like, absolutely not, and this is how we're gonna do it. And so a lot of times when I think about Kat, I get all excited. It's like, truly, she changed my life in like so many ways. So you bring it up and you're like, what do I do with it now? You just kind of, you start delving into it. It becomes a huge project, right?
It was. There were, we didn't have the inventory list at the time. We were, going back and forth, taking pictures of artifacts and, sending the pictures to Ray to get the story. So thankfully, he was able to clarify just about everything that we have in the inventory. So that was good. It took a few years, and then I had no idea. I'm self-employed, and I have some rentals, things up here in Columbus that I take care of, and I just didn't know how I was going to manage, taking care of a museum as well. It was going to be a museum. I just didn't know how to do it. And then the universe answers, Stephen, that's very true. I got an email from Ray that this man named Steven was interested in seeing the collection. And so he forwarded the email to me, and it was Stephen Innermill. And so it took off from there. I was going back and forth with Ray. Well, who is he? He says, well, I don't know. What's he? What's good? I don't know. Just call him, talk to him. So Stephen and I emailed back and forth, and Stephen came down to Columbus to look at the collection. And I warned him, it was not a museum. It was a lot of odd things in boxes that, a normal person really wouldn't know what they were, but somebody who was involved or knew about the occult or witchcraft or things like, when you come and see the collection, you'll understand. But Stephen came to look at the collection, and I was amazed. Stephen, I'm going to say, I was really amazed that you were asking a lot of questions that normally people would not ask. So,
I mean, all right, so this is like my side of it is I was working for another tourist destination in Cleveland, and I was like, this is awesome. I love doing this, but this doesn't quite jive with my interests. And just randomly, just one day during my lunch hour, I email Ray, whatever happened to your collection? I had no idea it was here in Ohio. I had no idea what happened to it. And then shortly after, I hear from you, and you're like, yeah, come see it. I'm like, all right. And drive down to Columbus and hear these pieces. And they're all in these boxes. But each one of them is like this truly like fascinating like mystery. And each one of them has this like long history behind it. And we're just kind of passing things back and forth. And I thought, this was fun. This was an experience. But then when we were driving home, I had this other experience where I actually witnessed a motorcycle accident. And that was one of those strange things where you talk about the universe. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I think this is the universe telling me, it's probably time to do what you want to do and not what somebody else wants you to do. And that was a very pivotal moment in my life. And Yeah, and here we are. I remember the one piece that I saw. It's this right here, and I remember pulling this out of a box and just the crescent moon just radiating on me this cosmic Gnostic light that it almost felt like an initiatory experience in that very moment, where it's like I could feel like the moon rays from the first Wiccan high priestess in America's like ritual headdress. Like
It's an amazing piece. Amazing piece.
Truly what I consider one of the true key pieces of the collection. I remember when I saw that, I got such a heavy case of chills where I was like, I think something could be done with this. And here we are, 3.5, 4 years later. So when you met Ray, you weren't familiar with this book?
No.
Oh?
I'm sad to say I wasn't. Many others, Cunningham especially, but
yeah.
No, I wasn't. I was in a place where when I would see the big pentagram, I was a little intimidated by it, but again, I was young. I was teenager, early 20s.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's cool. So yeah. we decide we're going to do this, and then we decide, you know what? Let's open up the museum. And Jillian and I, we were just like, where do we house this? And our friend Gus had a record shop, and I was like, hey, this weird room off the side, this would make a nice witchcraft museum. And Gus was like, yeah, this would be great. And next thing you know, there we were. And I always want to like shout out to my friend Ron, because he gave us the first real like great piece of press for this, and that was Dangerous Minds wrote up about our opening, and that was pretty huge for us. And the next thing you know, we had about 300 visitors that day, and I don't think it would have been quite as successful if it wasn't for Ron, because that got like super viral, and people would come from states away. And here
I remember.
Here's a wonderful photo of Ray at the opening, and it's I look at these old photos from 3 years ago, and it blows my mind that we could fit as much as we did in there. Mm-hmm. But I like the new space a bit more. You know what I mean? So we have some comments and questions here. So let's take a look at these. Chad Lott says, happy anniversary. Thank you so much, Chad. Chad is he's got a podcast called Scary Thoughts that I listened to pretty obsessively when we were putting the new space together. And it really helped me quite a bit, just because doing things like painting the ceiling, just listening to people like yammer on about horror movies is a lot of fun. Let's see here. Carol says, beautiful blessings from New Zealand. Samhain Eve here, Beltane blessings north. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Happy Samhain. It's yeah. Tiffany. Oh, dang. That moon circlet is gorgeous. Hi, Tiffany. Tiffany owns Witch Lab, which I always recommend for people to go check out if they're down in Columbus. It's a really great like witchcraft / oddity shop. And she has a couple of our pieces on display there that we have on loan to her. So Gregarious 404 says, I have Big Blue first edition, first printing, signed by Buck. I bet you do. That is awesome. We have one too, and that's got the famous typo in the back. So yes. Which, you know, we're on Facebook and YouTube. I don't know if we could talk about this typo live, because you know, they might flag us here. Todd Hansen says, Uncle Ray's Big Blue Book is required reading. I agree. So let's see. And Greg says, hi, Tony. LOLOLL. So, hi, Greg. Yeah, if anybody has any questions for Tony in particular, please chime in. So, Tony, have you ever had any weird experiences with these artifacts?
No, Steven. No, do you really? Yeah, quite a few. Quite a few.
Anything you want to discuss?
I don't know. There was some uncomfortable things. Do you want me to talk about it? Do you want me to?
We could, but Chad here has a question that I think kind of covers this. If you found an open portal to another dimension in the museum, which artifact would you assume caused the disturbance?
Well, it would definitely have to be the box.
Really?
The box in the corner. Yeah, for me.
To me, it's Rosemary Ellen Guiley's mirror.
The black mirror too, yeah.
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 The black mirrors are like, those are really intense.
There's also Crowley. Crowley's wand.
Yeah.
Crowley.
Yeah, the Crowley pieces definitely have heavy vibes about them. I'm not going to argue with that. So Joel says, my family had possession of some of the parts of the collection 20-something years ago. Still remember holding his demon box. Oh, boy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, well, Jillian says, Tony, how did you get interested in Wicca?
Well, kind of a long story. I met someone that was Wiccan years ago. They had a pentagram. Long story. They had a pentagram. I asked about what it was. I was curious, and then they invited me to something which I didn't know was called a witch's ball years ago here in Columbus, Ohio. So I went to the witch's ball, and at this gathering, there were lots of classes, and there was a class on incense making incense. And I remember the instructor talking about when you gather your items, when you gather all of your material, you really need to ask the planet, ask Mother Earth for permission to use these things. Don't just take them. Whatever it is you're using in your magic, you need to ask permission to use those things. And that resonated with me right then. I think I was hooked that, we take for granted that all, whether we buy it, whether we harvest it ourselves, it's really not ours. We still have to ask permission. And so that right there, I think, is when I was really, really hooked and got more and more interested. And it is this person telling us that, these things that are around us don't really belong to us. So yeah, that's how I got started. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And the person that asked this question is my wife, Jillian. And I think we need to pop her in here for a second. Say hi.
Hello.
Hi, Jillian.
Hi. Well, I was going to ask a follow-up question. How did Steven get interested in this? So,
how did I get interested in this stuff? Let's see. We have to go back in time to a very young Steven, where I traveled around. Like when I was a kid, we moved around a lot. So I got immersed a lot in books, and I was really into, I would get these books from Scholastics, Bigfoot, UFOs, etc. And that's the kind of stuff I filled my head up with as a young man. eventually it became like sci-fi, comics, etc. All with like metaphysical themes. I read a really wonderful book about witchcraft probably when I was like 16, 17 years old. And I was like, these people know how to live. You know what I mean? Like, and then I remember I was working at Parmadale, which is a place in Cleveland. And I was working as a cleaner, and I was reading the autobiography or autohagiography of Aleister Crowley. And I would sit there at my lunch, and I was in this chapel, and I would read this book, and I would look around at the people around me, and I'd be like, these people don't know how to live. This guy here does. And, I guess it all kind of snowballed from there. So that's pretty much how I got into this stuff. I read a lot of Robert Anton Wilson when I was a kid, and his book, The Illuminatus Trilogy, dealt with like witchcraft and the occult and conspiracies. And this was kind of back when conspiracies were a lot more fun, because like now they don't really have like the excitement and the flavor that they used to have when I was a kid. Now it's just like, don't get vaccinated, which I don't really see that as like a really fun argument for anything. So yeah, that's how I got into this stuff. Jillian, though, I kind of feel like your entry to this is a little more chill, more of a what?
A little different. Yeah. I never grew up with any religion, and but always really just liked being in the woods. I grew up in a neighborhood where everyone was older than me, so I didn't have a lot of people to play with. So my interest when I was younger was going down into the valley or just in my yard where I lived in suburban Cleveland, and just like hanging out with the animals and the plants, just observing. And I became really interested in just nature, in general. So when Steven, but I never considered myself anything necessarily. Like I studied Buddhism for a little while, like Zen Buddhism, and that really resonated with me because it was just a more of like a whole being, like we're all one system, which resonates in Wicca, of course. We're all part of this big biodiversity, this whole planet, here's Boo Boo. But then, once we got into the museum and Steven and I started reading more about Wicca, I was just like, this is everything I've always thought. I just never really realized it before. It's very open. It's very, you kind of bring to it what you want to. You don't have to follow any certain deity or dogma in a way, it's a very individual, like just how do you feel and how do you see the world, which is really, really appealing to a lot of people that just, kind of have their own opinions about things. So, and of course, I don't know, Magick is great too.
I would agree. So I'm going to bring it back to just you here, Jillian, because we're getting a lot of comments here. Let's see, that's Tony.
They're everywhere.
Hats. So is that your tail or is that Boo's tail?
This is Boo's tail.
Yeah.
That's Bert. I don't know where the other one is. He's running around here somewhere.
So let's see.
They have to be involved somehow.
So Tony, I think we have a question for you. And this is new to Wicca, and I'm curious as to what your best advice is to a beginner.
Well, first I would say find some good authors to read, and as well as blogs. Patty Wigington she has a blog. I don't know. Maybe do you know right offhand what her blog is, Steven?
It's a
Patty Wigington.
I'll look it up.
Patty, she's amazing. You know, Cunningham, Buckland, of course. Find some really good authors, some to follow first. There's a lot of things on the internet that are, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of, I hate to say, there's a lot of garbage on the internet, but there's some good things. But I think most important is follow your heart, follow what feels right to you, because what somebody else is telling you you should do may not resonate with you. So just find some good things to read. Get it if you can get involved with some people, like the local metaphysical shops in your area. They may have classes, things that you could do. But most importantly,
Cleveland area, come stop by the Buckland or join our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, because we've had classes in the past. I mean, I'm assuming that we're going to have a future, you know, which is something that I wanted to bring up. So the state of Ohio is like, hey, it's time to get back to business. They're saying May 12th. I'm not really that comfortable with just having it be like our usual day-to-day here quite yet. So we're going to wait till May 19th, which is just a week. But to come see the collection, it's only going to be appointment only. And you can buy tickets online. I've been working with a ticketing company where you could just go online and you could, we'll have 6 people be able to come in at a time, and you can buy a ticket, and it'll be just like before, except it'll be a little more exclusive than it was, because, you know, we just, I have to put everybody's health before anything else. I don't know what I would do if somebody came here and wound up getting ill. I think that would be probably like that would be a very crushing experience for me. So we're going to limit the amount of people that can come through, and but you can. We have it open now at bucklandmuseum.org. You can go order your tickets and be the first people to see the museum. We have done a lot of upgrades during this time because, and what else are we going to do? You know, so we've been trying to make the museum like even more than it was before. And I think there's going to be a lot of anxiety the first couple of weeks, but this is the kind of thing that we really just want to share, and we're not going to do it. You know, we have to do it very gradually. So I know it's not going to be really easy, because everybody that walks in, I'm going to be like, hey, where's your mask? And they're going to be like, I don't need a mask. And I'm going to say, that's a great thing for you to imagine, but I think you actually need a mask. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of rambling on here, but this is a brave new world that we're just trying to figure out, right?
Yeah.
Tony?
So do you think that if someone comes and they don't have a mask, will you have them to sell there, or will you be providing them in any way?
I've ordered a couple hundred disposable masks, you know, but you know, as somebody like me who follows like a neo-pagan nature religion, the last thing I want is disposable stuff laying around. You know what I mean? Because it just seems just grotesque to me. But I also, so we're gonna have options for people. Maybe some deluxe masks, as well as like some disposable ones that you can get for $1 or $2.
So people should really bring their own, you know, if they have them.
Chad is saying full mask with the logo would buy, and I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. Chad, marketer at heart. You know, we're actually going to. My niece is going to make some masks of like, you know, like witchy themes. So there's all that. So we have a future. What? So Joe is asking here, are there any other Raymond Buckland artifacts that you're looking at adding in the future? And he follows it up with ones that got separated from the original collection. So, I don't know, Tony, or anything that you're...
Well, there are a few things, but I'm wondering what he means by got separated from the original collection. Is there something else? Are we talking about what happened in New Orleans when things got separated?
Maybe. Who knows what happened when Ray moved from New York to New Hampshire down to Virginia, you know? I'm still looking for my Star Wars blaster that got lost when I moved from Ohio to Tennessee when I was 8 years old. So, you know, things get lost on the way.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's other things that are on the horizon that may not be part of the original collection, but are new to the museum that we're working on. You might want to talk about our latest acquisition, Steven. I mean, I know you have publicly on Facebook and whatnot, but you know, we're still acquiring things even during this time when not much money's coming in. We're working on things.
Yeah, so I'm just going to show a little video here of a piece that I acquired before everything fell apart, but it showed up 2 days after we went into lockdown, and I love it. I'm sure most of the people watching this would be familiar with H.R. Giger, the designer of the Alien, and we now have a piece that was sculpted by him sometime in the 80s, and I love it so much. It's a guardian angel piece, and to me, H.R. Giger is the greatest of like modern occult artists. And having an H.R. Giger piece on display in the collection, just like, oh my gosh, it makes my third eye explode into like cosmic waves that radiate out like at all times. I wake up in the morning and I have spring in my step because I'm like, we have an H.R. Giger piece that we're eventually going to be able to show the world. So, yeah. You know, you can buy your ticket now to be the first to see the H.R. Giger piece, right? So there's things like that. And a
great show we have up ready for people to see too.
Oh yeah. So we do have a rotating exhibit space, and the incredible witch Maja Daoust is sent us some incredible illustrations that we have on the wall right now, just ready for the world to see. So, yeah. And, you know, part of it is like we look in the past, of course, because it's the foundation of what we do, but we're always looking for like new, more beautiful pieces or just like other extraordinary things to add to the collection. When we were in Pantheon earlier this year, we were very honored to receive a wand that belonged to the famous wizard Oberon Zell, seen here in this photo with Tony. Oberon had loaned us, or he'd given us his staff, and now we have his wand to go along with it. So that's going to be a new thing for everybody to enjoy when they come see the new experience in the museum. So yeah, always kind of... even if there's things that weren't part of the collection back in the day, we're always willing to add pieces that fit with what we're going for. So let's see.
Ray would, definitely.
Oh, Gregarious says he gave me boxes of stuff. Okay, thanks for sharing. Says Facebook group. Well, it's the Facebook page, which I believe that you're probably watching this on now, Kelvin. H.R. Giger in memoriam. I know. Very sad. Tiffany says, how much are tickets? $7. Takes $7 to take $7 to take the ride. And all available on bucklandmuseum.org. So Andrea says, thank you. I appreciate the advice and also the recommendations. I live 2 minutes away. I joined the Facebook group. I have a homemade mask, no problems there. That is awesome. Yeah. So Toni, what do you have going on? Like, what are your thoughts for the future of the museum?
Well, you're talking about adding more things to the museum, and I do have, next time I see you, I've got quite a few it's archive things that we're going to need to scan, letters and such that I think should be displayed, I think. So I don't know, when will I see you next?
I know, it's like, honestly, I feel like that's the thing I find the saddest about the lockdown, is just the uncertainty of like face-to-face contact with our friends. You know, I've had Zoom parties, like Jillian and I. We've been known to Zoom with our friends, and it's not quite the same. You know, it's like the physical interaction. It's like the idea of like astral initiation versus the physical, like flying out to the Isle of Man, or no, Perth, Scotland. It's been a while since I've given the tour. Going out to Perth, Scotland, and getting that initiatory system person to person. And that's one thing that I'm really afraid that we're going to like lose out on in this whole social distancing thing, is as human beings, we need to interact with each other. And yeah. So I don't know when we're going to see you next, Toni, but hopefully sooner than later.
So I do have a question. We had talked about, not permanently, obviously, but an age limit. Did you mention an age limit of people, like people under 12? Were you still thinking of doing something like that?
Well, I was thinking it, but the thing is there's 4-year-old kids that won't touch anything, and there's 47-year-old men that would touch anything they come across. So I think we're just going to keep it open, you know, just because I mean, we're only going to have 6 people here at a time, tops, and I can't imagine that those usually those will be groups of families, so it's not going to have to be so like militaristically regimented, I guess. But I mean, we're going to play it by ear. If things get weird, I mean, I have no problem switching things up. So,
okay.
I mean, what do you think?
I agree.
I promise not to touch anything, and I appreciate that, Todd. It's I just honestly, we're gonna have to switch things up, like the way people buy posters from us, the way that people buy crystals from us, you know, because you can't go buy like a beautiful amethyst or a, you know, like this beautiful emerald without actually holding it and kind of feeling like
the energy
vibe it gives you, right?
Yeah,
like
but you also don't want to like then like use a bunch of bleach on it or alcohol, like take all the energy out. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So I'm excited to go check out this brave new world that we're going in. So there's a couple things I wanted to share. Is this photo right here I really love. And I think this photo was from Ray's original museum in his basement. But
it was?
I think so. I would love to know what happened to that skeleton. So, Joe, I think that would be a piece that we would love to find out more about. One thing people
Right.
forget about Ray is his history of spiritualism. Um, so, yeah, Gregarious Fordo Ford was mentioning earlier. Ray or Gregarious lives in Lilydale, and Ray had a long history there. Let's see what else we got. Sybil Leek. So, Tony, can you explain to the world why Sybil Leek is so important and why it's so amazing that we have so many pieces that were owned by her?
I remember that was one of the very first photos that you took when you came to Columbus to visit. Is that
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that is Sybil Leek's Athame.
It is. And I came down there, spent the night in a haunted house. Nobody gave me $1 million. And I photographed a bunch of pieces from the collection. And that was truly like one of the funnest experiences of my life, was to get a chance to explore this stuff. And I'll always be like super grateful for that. That was really something. But Sybil Leek is like this notorious witch, so infamous. And it's just so awesome that we have pieces that belong to her. And but you know, like when I try to explain her to people, it's kind of like, she was just like a famous witch. But what does Sybil Leek mean to you, Tony?
Well, she was originally from England. And when Gerald Gardner started writing about witchcraft, finally coming out of the closet when it was legal to actually talk about it, Sybil Leek was one of the first women to write about it. So she was a pioneer there. But in coming out and starting to write about it, you know, she was doing this secretly for a long, long time. She owned a antique store, and she would secretly give readings in the back room. But as soon as she came out as a witch, then she was banished from her community. So she came here to the United States, and that's where she and Ray actually met. So she was one of the forefront authors to have written about being a witch. So we're lucky to have that, as well as her ceremonial robe, which is currently at Witch Lab. Tiffany Boggins at Witch Lab has that. So if anyone wants to see that. But yeah, we also have her crystal ball there, I believe. So yeah, she was something. She was something.
Yeah, Sybil's crystal ball is on display, and there is a witch named Nima who from Southern Ohio, and she had come to visit. I had this really wonderful experience of watching her scry with that crystal ball, and truly like one of the coolest, most wonderful experiences that we've had so far. So, Tony, I got to ask you something. Did you know that this poster is from Columbus originally?
No, I knew it was from Ohio, but I didn't know it was from Columbus.
Yeah, it was part of a catalog from the 50s. And I love this poster because this is the thing that Jillian saw, where she was just like, all right, Steven, I understand exactly what you're getting at with having a museum. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's so incredible. It's kind of a centerpiece here in the collection. So hopefully when we reopen, people will come check it out. This is also one of my favorite pieces here in the museum, having Ray's horned helmet that you kind of explain the creation of that horned helmet, Tony?
Sure. So the Ray's story, he had many stories, all of them very funny. He was a funny man. He was, and Stephen, I think when you give your tour, I've listened to that. The story I have was he was getting ready to do that film, or the photo that you have in the book that you just showed. They were getting ready to do that photo shoot, and they didn't have a horned helmet at the time, and they needed one for that photo shoot. So he and his wife ran to the hardware store, Ace Hardware, whatever it was. They ran through the hardware store, and he was running around and putting mixing bowls on his head. So if you look at that photo, and if you actually see the real one, it's just a metal mixing bowl. And to watch Ray running around and putting on mixing bowls and asking, does this one fit right? Does this one fit right? To hear him, in person tell that story. He's hilarious. But when you look at that photo and you see that Davy Crockett was big then, and if you look at the horns on each one, they're actually little plastic horns from the Davy Crockett sets. And he said he went home and he had some fur and a glue gun, and he glued some fur around there, and there's like little thimbles on the end so the whole thing is it's spectacular. But to hear him tell the story, it's hilarious. But I don't know.
What I always like to point out with it is it's the DIY nature of witchcraft, where to be a witch, you're going out there, you're doing the stuff yourself, you're putting your energy into things, putting your hands into things. And I think that's kind of like this thing that separates things. Oh, hey, we got a message from what's up, Tamara? This is our friend from Down Under, who has donated pieces to the collection. How are you? I can't imagine with the coronavirus that you're going to come visit us this year. So, but lady Tamara, please get at me because we have to talk about the tarot cards that you've released. So yeah, we were talking about it.
Beautiful. Her oracle cards, they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
That's what I heard, and she had reached out about it a while back, and then the world fell apart. But email me, right? So Kelvin,
Jill, I have a question for Jillian.
All right.
How are you? How are you 3 years later? How are you feeling about all this? Are you about?
Well, I something I didn't talk about earlier, besides just kind of now understanding witchcraft, is that I've always been a museum nerd. I've always loved museums. I studied museums. I work in museums. That's what we do when we go on vacation. We're either outside or we're in museums. So owning a museum or running a museum, whatever it is that we say that we do, is wonderful. I love the curation. I love the design. I love just being able to show off this collection to people and educate them. And, even if it's not like, it's fun, even if it's not like you're learning like serious things, you're just having a great time and you're seeing some interesting things that you don't get to see in everyday life. So that's just fantastic. And I think that's like a dream come true for me. Me personally, I don't spend that much time at the museum even before all this went down, just because I got a job where I'm working in a museum and it's very busy. So I don't have a lot of free time. So Steven pretty much runs the place by himself. But Steven and I talk shop all the time. I just love the fact that, we're going to reopen carefully, so we can start showing this off again to people. It's just such a special thing. And it's a unique forum to talk about this. It's such a, it's not like we don't hide things. Like you know, how they often do in occult subject matters, obviously. You know, we kind of get it all out there and just let people make their own choices, you know, which is great. So I don't know, I'm thrilled with it, and I can't believe it's been 3 years already. But here's to at least 3 more, if not 20 more.
So what was your first reaction when I first called you up and said, hey, I was looking at the Witchcraft collection?
I was like, don't sign any papers. I was like, don't sign any contracts, don't make any agreements. I have no idea what you're looking at. I was in California visiting a friend, and you called me, you're like, hey, I'm on my way to see a Witchcraft collection. I was like, what? But once I saw it, even though at first I was like, what is this stuff? I don't know. It was like in a dusty attic. It was all dark, and I think it was hot because I think it was in the summertime. And I was just like, what is this stuff? Nobody's going to understand this. But then I saw that poster that you showed, the medical astrology poster. And I was just like, the colors of it in that dark attic just kind of like called to me, like, people need to see this. And just, you know, not only just the beautiful visual of it, just the more you learn about it and the more about like, oh, it's from this weird catalog that came out in the 50s from Columbus of all places. And, you know, what is medical astrology? People are always asking, like, what does it mean when it says feet near Pisces and, you know, head near Aries? Like, you know, what is that? What do the numbers mean? What are this? So it's just like, it's a constant source, like everything there, like people just so curious about it that it's just, you feed their minds and then they go off and who knows what they do with that information, which is fantastic. So good job, Steven. Good job, Toni.
Yeah, it's that's a very weird day. So, but I don't know. It's working out pretty awesome. I gotta say that I am so excited to reopen eventually, but casually. I'm in no hurry to reopen to the world, but when we do, it's going to be pretty special. Amy Lou Taylor says, I look forward to visiting from Canada when it's able to be open again. Also meeting you folks as I have. My Tasseomancy Museum to come to the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft, written into my will. That is that is very special. Amy Lou Taylor here has a massive collection of teacups, right? You know, ones that you use to like foretell the future and whatnot. Where I think we should probably give a shout out to our friend Greg Nichols, who comes here quite a bit, who's a tea leaf reader. Thank you so much, Amy Lou. Let us know when you're coming. We'll put out the red carpet for you. Tamara says 3 years, and I'm glad I've been part of it. Love what you're doing. Can't wait to see you all again. Blessed be. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So Amy Lou says, happy anniversary. Really appreciate that. And we spoke about it a couple of years back. We sure did. Yeah. Though we're written into your will, please don't, you know, cough into your elbow. Please be safe. This is such a freaky time that I don't know. My heart goes out to everyone that's been affected by this, and spend too much time thinking about it. It's I don't know. Let's stay focused and positive.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about, though. It's hard to like stay on track these days.
Now, you were planning on actually doing a large Beltane party, and obviously that's not going to happen. But you were planning on doing another gathering. When is that going to be?
June 13th is what it's been rescheduled to. So our friend Kelly, the Lake Witch, she's been organizing it, and it was supposed to be May 2nd, which isn't just a couple days. It was going to be a great 3-year anniversary / Beltane party, but Well, you know, the best laid plans of mice and men, right? So, June 13th, it's going to be a Saturday. We have some of the best witch vendors in the area who are going to show up for it. I hope, Tony, you're going to be able to come. I know Saturdays aren't always so easy for you, but it should be good. So mark your calendars, Saturday, June 13th. And if we have to have it not be then, we'll have it again in the future. But hopefully the curve will be flattened enough and we could, you know, it's not going to be that big of a problem. Amy Lou says again, love what you're doing and for the fact that you're spreading great education about witchcraft and the occult arts. Thank you for continuing to do such valuable work. Oh, thank you, Amy. That means a lot. Kelvin says, I am still here. And I think that's that is a cool, bold statement there, Kelvin.
Yes.
You know, we're all, you know, the people here are still here. So, and Amy says, not dying yet. LOL. Thank goodness. So, I don't know, we've crossed the threshold of an hour. So it's probably time to wrap this up. I just have to say that I really sincerely appreciate everybody's coming in, tuning in, talking to us a bit here tonight. I mentioned it a couple times, but it's really bittersweet that, you know, it's been 3 years and here we are. But yeah, I don't know. I've been working on a sign off for this. And you know, I always think about the Jerry Springer one where he's like, be good to yourselves and each other, but that's Jerry Springer's thing. Oh, Carol saying thank you. Great to connect with guys. Stay safe. Yeah. You too. And Gregarious says happy anniversary. Thank you so much. So anyway, as I feel like my sign off is developing, we're just gonna close this out with saying, actually, I gotta say, Tony, you have anything that you want to say to the audience? Anything before we split?
Oh, I can't wait for everything to reopen and get back up there. I miss you guys, and
we miss you too, Tony.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see you.
It was so nice to see you in California too at PantheaCon. That was just like before all this went down.
I know. It was a lot of fun.
How's Cheech doing?
She's good. I think she's watching. On here.
Hi, Cheech.
Good.
So Cheech is friend Cody's that was at the opening, and then she was at PantheaCon with us. So definitely part of the family here. Joe says, happy anniversary. We look forward to more cool events. Joe and his wife Connie come to like all our events at the Buckland, and it's always a lot of fun. Kelvin saying good night, wicked Walpurgisnacht. And yeah, Walpurgisnacht, night when all the witches come and ascend on Bald Mountain, right? And that's one of the reasons why we chose this as the day to open, because it was a Saturday and it was right Walpurgisnacht Eve, right? And you know, very close ties with Beltane. Oh, speaking of Beltane, we have some stuff coming up here in the next couple of days. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, we're going to be speaking with Gwian Raven about his book, The Magic of Food, Rituals, Offerings, and Why We Eat. Let me look here. Why We Eat Together. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been pouring through his book the last couple of days. And then I don't have a graphic for it yet, but on Sunday, we're going to have a meditation with Sadie Wolfkitten, who does our different meditations for the Wheel of the Year. So I think that's going to be at like 4 or 5 o'clock. I still have to confirm a couple things with her. And then on Monday, so we're doing a lot of these. It's fun because we do like bunch of live streams in a row and we don't do anything, and then there's a gap. But on Monday, we're going to be speaking with Steven Romano, the art dealer from New York, who loaned us the last year we had a major show of a gentleman named William Mortensen, who's a photographer. And William Mortensen was one of the first people to use like studio trickery for his photographs. So Steven and I were going to do a live stream of this guy's, it's of his living room. And there is, I have to guarantee that there is no living room in at least the United States that is so densely filled with esoteric imagery and pieces of art. I had the honor of being there for about 3 hours last fall with my friend Matthew, and it is a I think if I was like a movie reviewer, I'd say it's like a tour de force of esoteric imagery. So that's going to be Monday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, you know, you're working from home, you're doing your thing right. Yeah, cut out for a little bit, watch this. It's going to be really worth it. He has, he's got some things that, you know, I've seen on display at places like the Rosicrucian Museum, like in like San Jose, but not in nice of condition as what as the pieces he has. Books on alchemy, etc. So anyway, that is Monday at 3 o'clock. And other than that, we got some other stuff coming up. So, yeah. Oh, and Amy Lou Taylor says, so cool. Let me know if you would like to do one about my museum. It's just sitting here missing people visiting. Yeah. Send us a message. Let's do a live stream from your museum. It's occult museums have to stick together. It's the rule. So any final thoughts there, Toni, Jill?
No.
Oh,
Stay
looking
for everyone. Blessed be.
Yeah. So like I was saying, I've been working on a sign off here for everyone. And I think it'd be better if it incorporated something like put $1 and send it to me. But instead, I'm just going to say something along the lines of stay witchy, my friends. And our email, you can get it from our website, bucklandmuseum.org. Come and see us next time. Thank you so much for listening. You know, happy anniversary, Jill and Toni, and to the whole community around here. Stay witchy.